Hey, good morning. Hey, Josh. Let's see. Yes and no. They're the types that do the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And here we are, expecting different results from them. No, same old, same old. Okay. I'm going to assume that is in response to the question that the no, don't see the first comment, Josh. Sorry. That's what I was getting ready to say. I'm assuming that's in response to uh the question asked by the liberal that we're going to cover here in a little bit. So, one thing, oh, okay. Let's see. Well, see, it's not even showing up on my StreamYards. I'm not even looking at the YouTube and at StreamYards. No, I'm not seeing anything beyond before that yes and no. So, and even though StreamYards may or YouTube may block something, I'll usually see it on StreamYards. But anyway, do want to uh, express condolences to Catholics. The Pope died late last night, early this morning. And for those who are Catholic, the next week or so is going to be very, very interesting watching the black smoke from the Vatican as the assembly meets to appoint or elect a new pope after the funeral. So, to those who are Catholics, my condolences on the loss of the Pope. And I'm just going to leave that there. Um, Couple small things that also happened this past weekend that I didn't cover or that I hadn't talked about. Some of them are pretty good. One of them is pretty good. Um, UK's highest court ruled Wednesday that the UK equalities law defines woman as someone born biologically a female. Justice Patrick Hodge said the five judges at the Supreme Court had ruled unanimously the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act refer to the biological woman. So that again is a good thing. The United States needs to follow suit. The ruling means a transgender person with a certificate that recognizes them as female should not be considered a woman for the equality purposes. The case stems from a 2018 law passed by the Scottish Parliament stating that there should be a 50% female representation on the boards of Scottish public bodies. The law included transgender women in its definition of women, followed a long running dispute between women's rights groups and the Scottish government. While the case centers on Scottish law, the groups bringing the challenge for Women Scotland FWS said the outcome should have a UK-wide consequences for sex-based rights as well as everyday single-sex services such as toilets and hospital wards. And this is what happens when a sovereign country such as Scotland and Ireland bow to a foreign government. Okay, that's fine, Josh. I do that a lot. In fact, most times when I'm listening to YouTube, I'm working on other things. I was listening to Freaking Reviews this morning and Jeff Gray's channel while preparing for this show, and had to back up a few times on the reviews because I wanted to see what it was he was reviewing. If you've never watched Freaking Reviews, it's a guy out of Las Vegas. And he buys stuff with his own money and he tests them. And he's been doing it for a couple of years. And like if he's testing a set of cooking gear, he will pull out equivalent. If he's doing a saucepan, he's going to pull out a saucepan that he's got that he likes using. And oh wow, yeah, okay, Josh, yeah, I see that one. That some of your okay, the last comment I see is yes, some of my comments aren't showing up. I just put one in. I think about calling in right before the last comment, but I moved YouTube to my small screen and saw a few missing comments. Do I see that one? Yes. What is going on, Josh? Who did you make mad at YouTube? That they're censored? Because I've got nothing censored on the channel. I have absolutely no censoring done on the channel. So I don't understand why you're missing anything. So let me double check, make certain nothing's gotten that nothing has been added that I didn't know about. Okay, and let's see here. All right, I still got my description as an angry orf, old retired fart, shaking his fist at the sky, yelling. I don't have any video watermarks because I don't see anybody actually doing anything to my channel that would. So let's see here. And no, I don't see anything that would where I've got anything blocked. So it's not on my end. I'm sorry to say. Ooh, I had somebody unsub in the last month. Ooh, I wonder who that was. And that's it. So I have no clue what's going on, Josh. Yeah, maybe that's what it is something on your side. But anyway, now, I mean, Scotland's pretty liberal. I mean, when you require that public bodies be 50-50, All right. When you start off saying, okay, well, yeah, we need to have it 50-50 male and female, then what's next? Well, we need to have population, so, you're already going down that road of saying that public bodies have to be representative of the public. Well, the public's made up of more subdivisions than just male and female. You've got subdivisions within politics. You've got subdivisions within ethnic origins. You've got subdivisions within vegetarian versus meat eaters. You've got hey, morning, Digi. So, I mean, you've got all kinds of subdivisions or ways you can divide up the populace and be wanting to demand um, representation in public bodies. So that is, in my opinion, a big mistake on the side of any governmental body. Let the people elect who they want to elect to be on that public body, and representation be damned. It's represented. The body is represented by the number of votes they got. And when you start saying that you have to have a certain number of a certain type of person on there, now you're restricting the rights of other people. Okay, we'll do, Josh. Hey, did you? Yeah, if you make a post and you don't see it pop up, let me know, because Josh said he made a half a dozen posts that never appeared. So, a, a week or so ago, this woman, member of the House, female member of the House, stood up before the rostrum and made the claim that she needed to be able to work from home because, having just given birth to a baby, she needed to be able to work from home and give out her votes by proxy. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm against proxy voting. 100%. I am against proxy voting. You were elected to represent your people, be it in the House, be it in the Senate, be it wherever. And when you give out a proxy vote, then you're trusting someone else that other people voted for to represent the people that voted for you. That's not good. I wouldn't trust my wife. I love my wife dearly. I really and truly do. But would I trust her to because there are things we disagree on. Would I necessarily want to entrust her to vote for me on election day? That's, you got to think long and hard. Do you entrust your vote to someone else? And if you wouldn't entrust your vote to someone else that disagrees with you on issues, why would you want your representative, a person you voted for, to entrust their vote to somebody that you didn't vote for? But when she got up there, she made it sound like, that she needed to be home to care for her baby. The problem with that is, let me come over here. Look at this date, January 1st, 2019. Over 6 years ago. House opens daycare center in hopes of better retaining Capitol Hill staffers. The House of Representatives will open a daycare facility this week in an effort to better retain staffers on the Hill who have children. Well, if it's going to be for the staffers, don't you think that the representatives themselves are going to be able to use that, have that daycare, access to it? The daycare's first phase will open this week, provide care for up to 120 infants and toddlers. Next year, preschool will be added to host 122 students. The Senate already operates its own daycare facility. So the House was following suit in 2019. This is from, I opened their website this morning. House of Representatives Child Care Center. The House of Representatives Child Care Center, commonly known as HRCCC, has been providing full day, year-round quality child care for children of the House community and other federal employees since 1987. Serving infants from 10 weeks to 12 months of age. Serving toddlers from 12 to 36 months. That's the age group my wife works with. Serving preschoolers 3 to 5. So the House, members of the House have access to child care. And chances are good, even though this website doesn't show it, chances are really, really good that daycare is a heck of a lot better than my wife works at. And I would not be surprised if it's not right there in the congressional offices area. So for any House member or Senate member to say that they need to be able to vote by proxy simply because they just gave birth to a baby and they need to be at home with that baby is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And once again, I'm going to say, like I said when this first came up, you knew that when you ran for the job of being a member of the House of Representatives, you knew what was going on. This is like the women of the House complained that the dress code didn't allow them to wear their hats, or that didn't allow them to wear sleeveless dresses. because the dress code, and it required them to wear a jacket because they basically had to follow the same dress code as the men. They didn't have to wear a tie though, but they had to wear long sleeve blouses and a jacket, the same dress code the men did. And the women complained because it didn't allow them the freedom to express themselves through their clothing. They wanted to be able to wear hats and dresses that showed off their arms and their underarms. I'm surprised we haven't had any of these liberal women showing off a full bush underneath their armpits. You ran for an office. Now, I'll tell you, I'm not happy personally with, I mean, Jim Jordan walking around with his tie undone and his jacket off. He looks sloppy as hell. And he's not the only House member that does it. It's just he does it. He's the most common one for doing it. He does it the most often. I want my members of the House, I want my governmental members to be, to actually look like they're members of the government and dress appropriately. And yes, that's business. You start showing up you start relaxing the code to where they show up wearing polo shirts or Hawaiian print shirts and khaki shorts. Who's going to take them serious? Who's going to take them serious? But I mean, I've been in several places that had no females. And then as soon as females showed up, things had to start to change to make the women more comfortable. They knew they were coming into an all male dominant area. And the next thing it was, we don't like seeing pictures of women in bikinis. Oh, do you really have to cuss that way? Do you really have to talk about that? Well, why don't you clean up your language? Now, I've never been somebody that cussed a lot. I was always taught, that the person who cusses a lot has a very limited vocabulary. And that shows you're not well educated. Now, while that's not necessarily true, that's the way I was taught. So I was taught a broader vocabulary, not so I wouldn't cuss so much. And as y'all know from listening to me, that has sort of slid by the wayside because while I still don't cuss a lot, I don't show off a broad vocabulary. Ah, but anyway. And speaking of showing ignorance, Nancy Mace has shown off her she's shown. I've learned something about Nancy Mace I don't like, and it's from a video that she posted herself. And we're going to go ahead and play this.
I do them every year. You want to keep going? Do you want to keep going and keep harassing me?
Now, all that, Scott, as you can tell, the video starts mid conversation. This gentleman asked her if she was going to have any more town halls this year. And as you can tell, there's a bit of a distance between them. He's a respectful distance. He's not up in her face. So he's a respectful distance between them.
Could have gone to a dozen town halls last year.
I asked if you're doing any more this year. It was one simple question.
Yeah.
Are you doing a town
I've
hall
already
this year?
done one. I'll do
Are
plenty
you doing
more.
any more this year? It was a simple question.
You're always invited.
Okay, sweet. Well, look
And
out
by
for
the
an
way,
actual invitation
I
for the
voted
next
for
one.
gay marriage
What
twice.
does that
And I have,
Voted for gay marriage
What
twice.
does that have to do
So
with me?
I'm just saying, it has everything to do with you.
Do you think everything about me has to do with gay
I
marriage?
do,
That's
absolutely.
Your first stance when you
all right. I mean, yeah. I mean, my gaydar is dinging when I look at you, especially wearing them booty shorts. Okay. It's like I said the other day on the video. I will not wear shorts that short. I won't even wear them around the house. I prefer my shorts to be at least 3/4 thigh, if not all the way down to my knee. And I would never wear shorts that short out in public. But he wasn't asking anything about her voting record. He was simply asking, are you going to hold any open town halls this year? And she's gone off and then bringing up the fact that he looks like he's gay.
Yep.
speak with me.
Absolutely.
There's no other humane
If you want to get in my
conversation you
face
can have
about town
me.
halls, you should have shown up
There's
to
no
one
other
last
humane
year.
thing you can talk about me just saying, oh, I support
Uh-huh.
gay marriage.
Yeah.
That's the
Because you're
only thing
getting
you
in
have
my
to
face
say.
about a town hall. You
Oh, I
could have
just
gone
asked you one
last year.
simple question from right
Would you
over
like
here
me-
is if you have any plans to have more town halls this year.
I have town
That
halls
was one
every year.
question.
I have over a dozen
Okay.
every year.
Great. That was my entire question. You didn't have to
Yeah.
go into the spiel about
You
everything
could have
else you wanted to.
come to any of them last year.
Okay. And I'm
I had
asking you
over a
about this year, not
dozen.
2024. But
Where
we're
were
in
you the year
right?
before that?
Okay.
Or the year before that?
It was a simple
Oh,
question. I
because you
asked
know
if
what?
have
Because you
any more that
people
you're
on the
going to
left
this year
are
or not.
crazy.
So I'm
Nancy, right now, you're the one acting damn crazy. Why couldn't you have just answered the question and said, yes, sir, I'll be holding many more town halls this year. And of course, you're openly invited to come to them. Why did you have to go into this whole spiel about him getting in your face? He's a respectful distance away. And from what you put, from the video you shot, he was being respectful. He didn't get mean with you. Nancy, what's on? What's going on here?
I'm
You're
on the left.
absolutely crazy.
I'm absolutely
You are.
crazy.
And get out of my face.
And really dropping the F-bomb, Nancy? Are you serious? You're an elected official. All right. You're an elected member of the House of Representatives. There was no need to drop that F-bomb. No need whatsoever.
You're insane.
Goodbye.
You're insane.
You.
You're gonna You're
Yep.
gonna be voted
Bye.
out so fast this year. I
I'm
can't
not.
wait for you to
Not.
go
I
into
won
the
by
dirt.
so much.
You're a disgrace to this state. That's what you are. You're a disgrace. I asked you a simple question, and you just go on this tirade and tell me you.
Yeah. You.
Disgusting.
Get out of my face.
You. How about
Get out of my
that?
face.
You're nasty.
Try. What's your
You're
name?
nasty.
What's your
You're
name?
nasty. That's
What's
my
your name?
You say me?
Yep, I
That's
sure
the
did.
First thing you're gonna say to me is me for
Absolutely.
asking you a
Get
question.
the out of my face
You.
now.
You.
You. You couldn't take me on, baby. Say the
Nancy, Nancy, I've said in the past, when you watching you in the hearings, I loved you in the hearings because you didn't take a lot of guff from the people. You asked questions, and when they didn't answer your questions, you came back at them to make them answer it. But that's not were you drunk? Had somebody beat you up that day? Did somebody hit your car? Now, this gentleman, as you saw, he had his own cell phone in his hand and he was recording it, but I couldn't find his video. Mark, what's his name now? Oh, Mark Dice? Is that his name? Dang, I hate when I can't remember somebody's name. Yeah, Mark Dice. Mark Dice had the video, has his video, the guy that the other video shot. And that was, and you could see I was looking for it so I could at least show the opening, the part that happened before she started with her own video, and the part that's not that obviously I didn't show because I don't have it. I couldn't find it this morning. But he did nothing to deserve that tirade from Nancy this morning. And it really disgusts me that she did that. I don't care who you are, which party you belong to, male or female, white, black, Indian, green, purple, red. I don't care what subsect of the human species you think you belong to. There is no excuse for that kind of behavior. None whatsoever. And yet there we were. There we were. Showing that. So Nancy Mace, you may have just shot yourself in the foot with getting reelected. When you can't even show respect to somebody, whether they voted for you or not, who is being respectful to you. That's just not the right way to do it. And Nancy's video is all over the place. Okay. Now for the title story. The guy who wrote this article that has just come to hell. He is a PhD student at George Mason University. He's a liberal. And, well, let's see here. The guy's name is Nicholas Decker, Captain Gouda 24. The ultimate source, this is one of his posts. The ultimate source of political power is and always will be violence. If the present administration should continue on its course, there is no choice but war. I say this out of sorrow. When must we kill them? In my personal view, that is a direct threat against the President of the United States, against the Vice President of the United States, and every member of the cabinet. And he wonders why he got blowback. Update, internet lunatics. My landlord has evicted me on account of your threats. In other news, does anyone have a spare room? Again, I'm not big on making threats, or I'm not threatening you, I'm making a promise. It's a threat. Plain and simple. You're making a threat. When you're threatening a person and going after their home, their landlord, going after their place of employment, that's tactics the left uses, the canceling. We're going to cancel you out of life. We're going to take away your job. We're going to take away your livelihood. We're going to take away your home. We're going to kick you out to the streets. That's not the way we should be doing things. That's not the way things should happen. Now, there have been times, yes, where I've said, we need to use the left's own tactics against them. There's been times I've said that we can't always play by the golden rule while the left is turning around and doing everything they can to destroy us. There are times where we've got to give them a taste of their own medicine. But there's limits. But once you jump in that mud pit, you can't, rarely are you just going to get the bottom of your foot wet. You're going to end up sinking in neck deep right alongside of them. So believe me, I wish I understand why it is we want to use their own tactics against them. There have been times I've wanted to. There's been times I wanted to give them a taste of their own medicine more than once. But let's go ahead and read this article this young guy wrote. When must we kill them? Evil has come to America. Nicholas Decker, April 16th, 2025. And edit. Well, that didn't get quite the reception. Well, didn't that get quite the reception? The response has been far greater than I anticipated. I was certainly impressed by the inventiveness and facility of my interlocutors. I wish to make a few points clear. Violence is a last resort, not a first resort. There's no such thing as you're going to have people that are going to jump to that last resort regardless if that last resort is made as a possibility to them. You list something as a possibility, somebody's going to use it. Say, why mess around with all this other stuff? Let's just go ahead and go to the last best resort, last best action. The one that's going to, why waste time? Let's go ahead and just do it. It must come after the exhaustion of all possible remedy. It is not, moreover, appropriate for decisions which are merely unwise or disastrous is to be employed only in self-defense of our Constitution. You want to say that while would you say people who believe that the left, that Obama, that Biden, that Kamala, that you are advocating things that are destructive of our Constitution? Would you still use that to say that they've got the right to use violence? And be asking themselves, when must we kill them? Those that we disagree with, that we politically disagree with? If it is to be resorted to, it must be narrowly targeted and aimed at only extirpating those who have power and unjustly resisting giving it up. So name me a president that has unjustly refused or resisted in giving up their power. Name me a vice president. Name me one person in the federal government, elected office, in an elected office that unjustly resisting giving up power. Because honestly, I really can't think of anyone. Sure, a lot of people have said that they didn't believe that the votes were properly counted. Hillary Clinton, when she lost, she has yet to admit that she lost. She still says that that election was stolen. Would Roosevelt count? Honestly, I don't know. Did Roosevelt do something that to refuse to give up power? So I honestly don't know. He was at the time he was allowed to have 4 terms. He was never he did not lose in an election and then turn around and resist giving up power. So that I'm counting that at, I'm saying somebody lost power, who lost an election, and said, "Nope, I'm not leaving office." All right, so let's read what this Nicholas Decker, PhD student in economics, who wants to become a professor. This guy wants to become a professor, and this is what evil has come to America. The present administration is engaged in barbarism, and it has arbitrarily imprisoned its opponents. You mean who? The left is the one that for years that tried using lawfare against Donald Trump. I think you've got the wrong. Who is he in prison? I mean, the left is the one that imprisoned the January 6th protesters that didn't do anything that hadn't already been done by protesters on the left. Revoked visas of thousands of students. Yeah, something they're by law allowed to do when students break our laws or advocate for our enemies. Impose taxes on us without our consent. What taxes? What taxes? And since when do you and I get a vote on what taxes are passed and what taxes are imposed upon us? I don't get to vote on, federal taxes. I don't get to vote on federal taxes. Rarely am I allowed to vote on local taxes. And seeks to destroy institutions which oppose it. Again, let me refer you to the Obama and the Biden administrations and their actions. Let me refer you to the IRS and their actions on institutions and groups that oppose the Obamas and the Bidens. Hey, morning, Mike. You know, Mr. Decker, you are using what the left has done and proclaiming that it's being done. Its leader has threatened those who produce unfavorable coverage and suggests their license be revoked. Okay. When media outlets intentionally lie for years about you and proclaim that they're telling the truth and that they're allowed to do so because it's news, but it's provably a lie that they're saying. You know, the federal government does control licensings of broadcasters. I mean, and if you would license a news organization, a broadcaster, then, you know, do you give license to somebody who's a proven liar and allow them to spread lies? I mean, that's not a violation of the First Amendment to refuse to give public license to someone that's a liar, because they can still spread their lies, just not using public airwaves. It has deprived us, in many cases, of trial by jury. Who? Unless you're talking by illegals, and illegals don't get a trial by jury. It has subjected us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. And I hope you explain that later on. It has transported us beyond seas to be imprisoned for pretended offenses. Oh, are you talking about illegals sent back to El Salvador who are gang members? And when they got to El Salvador, they got imprisoned by the El Salvadoran government. So they were sent back to their country of origin, and their country of origin imprisoned them for crimes they committed while in that country before they illegally entered our country. It scorned the orders of our courts. You mean, okay, let me refer you to Biden and student loans. Okay. And some of these judges issued orders outside their jurisdiction. The orders it was correct to ignore their orders. And threatens to alter fundamentally our form of government. Now, Obama is the one who promised to fundamentally change our government. Remember, Obama is the one who made that promise. Not Trump. Obama is the one that said he's going to fundamentally change our government. Is pardon its thugs and extorted lawyers who defended its opponents. Okay, you're talking about the J6ers as far as pardon its thugs. You mean people who were punished way beyond anybody from the left who had been, if they'd even been brought to trial for committing the exact same crimes, and I got crimes there in quotation marks. You know, for a PhD student, and I'm not a PhD student, never have been, never will be. You're pretty damn stupid. You're either that or else you're one hell of a liar here, because you're making that seem, you know, your accusations, you know, by using us, unless you believe that illegals have the same rights as American citizens. You got a GED in a high school diploma. Hey, good on you. I'm glad you got and education, all that, to me, for most people, coming out saying, I've got a college degree, all that says is you spent 4 years spending money learning nothing. You spent 4 years getting brainwashed. For most people. Now, you come out there and say, I've got an electrical degree, I've got an architectural degree, I'm a lawyer, I got a medical degree, I've got a physics degree, you got a STEM field degree. That's like, okay, great. But you come out there with a poli-sci degree, you come out there with a education degree, you come out there with the degree in women's studies, gender studies, African history studies. One of those, it's like, okay, you just wasted 4 years. You spent a lot of money for 4 years of brainwashing. Hey, Neil, good morning. Hey, Neil, just to let you know, about half of Joshua's posts were not posting. So if you post something and it doesn't get responded to, that means it didn't get posted and nobody's seeing it. Okay? If these actions become normal, the government could arrest anyone and deport them to a prison in a foreign land without hope of redress for no reason. The government can't arrest anybody. Let's face it. The Biden administration proved that. When they arrested people simply for being out front of the Senate building, just for being out front of the building, they never entered it. They never went beyond the gated areas, and they were still arrested. Okay, then, we've already proven that the government can arrest anybody. Deport them to a prison in the foreign land. The only people who've been deported to a prison in a foreign land are illegals. All right, they weren't deported to the prison. The illegals were deported to their home country, and their home country imprisoned them for their crimes that they committed while in that country. Like being a member of MS-13 or that other gang that I can't pronounce. Okay, with help of redress, without hope of redress. Well, you know, what foreign countries do with their criminals is none of, we don't get involved with that. We can say, hey, that's not, that's not right, but we got no legal way of going in there and changing the legal system of another country. And for no reason, if you entered our country illegally, that was the reason you got deported. If you were illegally in the country, that's why you got deported. So there was a reason why you were arrested and deported, and why the foreign country, El Salvador in this case, imprisoned them. Because they were gang members who entered the United States illegally, committed additional crimes here, when we're deported back to El Salvador, and El Salvador said, yeah, no, we're not putting you on the streets because you're a criminal. We're putting you in a prison. Hey, morning, Ramen. Is your migraine better today? It is nothing less than the total application of the rule of law in this country. Guess what? No, it's not. I showed the other day Obama deported more people than we did. Obama deported more people than Trump did his first term. And those cages that everybody went crazy about were built by Obama. There's no guard or protection against it. For illegals, no. For illegals, no. You're in the country illegally, you get deported. End of conversation. If this theory prevails, then it's end of America as a free nation. Only if you believe that everybody and anybody in the country can decide to move here, enter the country illegally, and not be deported. If you believe that as a country, we have to accept anybody and everybody that wants to move here, then you're right. But we have immigration laws that are on the books. Laws that for 4 years were ignored by the Biden administration and caused millions of people to, not hundreds of millions, but millions of people to illegally enter our country. And when you have millions of illegals in a country, guess what happens? You now have people in the country illegally who no longer or have a reason to obey other laws. And because they are not obeying other laws, they induce more crime. They also cause a shortage of jobs. They cause shortage of housing. They cause shortages for those who are here legally and for U.S. citizens. And when you're here on a visa, because I know this was another complaint you had, when you're here on a visa, you are a guest of the country. And when you are a guest, you can be asked to leave whenever you do something that the host does not like, such as break a law, as damaging property, kidnapping, making threats to other people, actively support organizations and groups that wish to cause us problems, enemies of our country. For any of those reasons, you can have your permission to be here as a guest removed. You don't like it, then that's just don't do things that will make the government mad at you. Don't break our laws. Act like a civilized person. Okay, I'm having to refill a new syringe. Actually filling my last syringe. So in about an hour and a half, I will be done with my weekly infusion. Yay, that makes me a happy camper. But none of these are reasons to ask the question, when do we kill people that we disagree with politically? I do not wish to write this essay to be a mere catalog of outrages. The conduct of the present administration is well known to you as it is to myself and can be understood by any sensible person. On it, no further comment is ventured. I agree with 90% of what this administration has done. Do I agree with everything? No, because I only agree with 90%. Like I disagreed with 90% of what the Obama and the Biden administration's done. 90% of what the Clinton administration did. I had somebody last night tell me, anybody who has been accused of raping a woman should be automatically disqualified to be president. I said, okay, so then you believe Clinton should have been disqualified. Well, no, Clinton was never accused. Oh, yeah, he was. He was accused by several women. Well, that was different. That was then. I'm talking now. And that's the way it always is when you talk to these liberals. That is different. Well, that was then. Or that didn't happen. Or for some reason, when Trump's doing it, it's worse when Trump is involved. There's always outrage when a president is in office. Why? Because nearly half of the country disagrees with him. And when that president is a Republican, nearly half the government or half the country and 99% of the media disagrees with him. So anything that is disagreed upon suddenly becomes an outrage. Remember, the media picks what is and isn't going to be an outrage that week. Okay? It wasn't an outrage that a student knifed another student in the heart at a track meet. That wasn't the outrage. But the fact that the father of the dead student showed up at a press conference for the student that murdered his son and just stood there, that was an outrage. That was the outrage. How dare he show up to this press conference? There was no media outrage, though, about the murder of his son. Back to the article. What remains for us to decide is when we fight. If the present administration wills it, it will sweep away the courts. It will sweep away democracy, and it could sweep away freedom. This is supposed to be a PhD student who wants to become a professor. There are many people that hold him out as being extremely intelligent. And yet he makes such a stupid comment as saying that a president, any president, could step in and do away with the courts. Now, remember, it was the Biden administration that, because they didn't like the rulings of the Supreme Court as it is presently set, tried to, and with the aid of several Democrats in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, Feinstein, or I don't know if I can't remember if Feinstein was part of that group or not, but anyway, that wanted and tried to get through enlarging the Supreme Court with more judges of their picking, you know, flat I said, well, let's just pack the court with judges we like that will support what we support. Yeah, exactly, Raman. That's their loophole. Oh, the camps are supposed to be FEMA camps, which have never been used, by the way. Yeah, there's no such thing as FEMA camps. Protest is only useful insofar it can affect action. Our words might sway the hearts of men, but not of beasts. So anybody that disagrees with the left, even when they protest, you're not a man, you're an animal. You're lesser. If the present administration chooses this course, then questions of the day can be settled not with legislation, but with blood and iron. In short, we must kill them. In short, we must kill them. If the present administration chooses this court, then we must kill them. I do not remember if it was, I believe it was under Obama. There was those on the right who started with the quotation, I'm looking up the quote. Okay, Thomas Jefferson quote. The tree, the tree liberty must be refreshed from time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Okay, and that was about the Shays Rebellion. While Jefferson seemed to abhor violent uprisings, he also noted in his letter that such acts were often founded by ill-informed groups. But this guy here is saying the same thing. This guy is openly advocating for the murder of everybody in this administration. If this man is so smart, wouldn't he realize, wouldn't he know that this is going to bring the FBI and the Secret Service down on him? That this would raise the ire of everybody who's a Trump supporter? Not everybody, but a lot of people. None of us wish for war, but if the present administration wishes to destroy the nation, I would accept war rather than see it perish. I hope you would choose the same. But what to do? The rot of the present administration runs deeper than one man. The sacrifice of a hero is insufficient to save our nation. And the gust of wind on a summer day would not have saved us. Geez, I wonder what he's talking about. The gust of wind on a summer day. If a gust of wind had blown that bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania, the opposite direction, instead of hitting his ear, would have hit him in the head. This guy is upset. He's angry that people are mad at him, that people are trying to cancel him, that he was evicted from wherever he was living because he got threatened and his landlord was threatened. He's angry. He's angry that people are doing to him, or that people are merely using words when he's threatened, when he's openly advocating for a bullet for people that he disagrees with. For let us make no mistake, the problem is not one man, but a whole class of people. If one head is cut off, another takes its place. So it's not just Trump. It's not just Trump. It's not just his cabinet, but it's everybody that supports him. All of us should be killed, according to this man. Anybody who supported Trump, over half of the voters, 77 million people, I believe, off the top of my head, who voted for Trump should be killed because we're all just as bad as Trump. This was written on April 16th, 5 days ago. Where's CNN at on this? Where's MSNBC? Where's NBC, ABC, CBS? Where's NPR? Where's PBS? If this had been a conservative writing this against Biden or writing this about Obama, it would have been national news. It wouldn't have just been circulating on the internet. Good point, Neil. You're either that or else he missed the whole point of the song. Violence only makes sense as part of a coordinated strategy. That's why protests are important, not as a way of changing the present administration's actions, but as a way to coordinate a group. There may come time when we shall have no guarantee of freedom, but one we make for ourselves. If it comes, I tell you, there must be no greater honor than he who lays down his life for his friends. Until then, we must wait. Now, I have not read this whole thing of his. So what you're getting is my natural reaction to this. None of my reactions to this, I mean, I'd only read the first paragraph or two the first paragraph of this prior to doing it here. I made a mistake in sub to Substack, and this got fed to me. This got pushed to me by Substack. Tell me he is not openly advocating for assassination of Trump, J.D. Vance, and the cabinet, and be willing to excuse the murder of anybody who openly supported Trump. If you wear a MAGA hat, he's openly supporting for your murder. Try to convince me he's not. Not just having your hat stolen, not just being spit on or slapped, but being killed. And when is that time? Your threshold may differ from mine, but you must have one. If the present administration should cancel elections, good God, no. Ever since Clinton, every president's going to cancel elections. Ever since Clinton, that's been the thing. One side or the other has always said that current president is going to try to cancel elections. If it should engage in fraud in the electoral process, if it should suppress the speech of its opponents, well, again, let me refer you to the Biden administration and to the Obama administrations, and jail its political adversaries. Once again, the Biden administration that ignores the will of Congress. Well, every time a president vetoes a bill, he is ignoring the will of Congress. You do know that, right? If the president vetoes a bill, if he does not sign a bill into law, then he is ignoring the will of Congress. If it should directly spurn the orders of the court, let me refer you to the Biden administration. All these are reasons for revolution. So you're saying back during the Obama administration and the Biden administrations, there should have been revolutions? Is that what you're saying? It may be best to stave off and wait for elections to throw out this scourge. But if it should threaten the ability to remove it, we will have no choice. If Trump isn't eligible for re-election. Most likely J.D. Vance is going to run, even though Trump has already said that he didn't think J.D. should. But most likely J.D. Vance will run for election, as well as others. But Trump won't be one of them. You are letting these memes get to you. Memes of Trump being president for the next 30 years. For the next 20 years. You're letting memes get to you and rot your brain. We will have to do the right thing. We'll have to prepare ourselves to die. I hope we should conduct ourselves with such courage that'll be our finest hour. You're not Winston Churchill. I expect we shall do our duty. Oh, God. I'm stealing lines from Winston Churchill. This guy, thank God it's only got 3 more paragraphs. While we wait, we must not be like sheep to the slaughter. We cannot cooperate. We must hide those who are persecuted. We must foil the aims of their agents. Oh, so you're going to break the laws. Is that what you're saying? Is you're going to break current laws, and then when you get arrested, you're going to sit there and cry victim? You're going to cry that you got arrested because you're being a true patriot. The state and local governments which we control can litigate the actions of the present administration. Their police can refuse to share information or be deputized to do the work of the evil ones. Oh, I'm surprised he hasn't called Trump Voldemort yet, or he who must not be named. If the war is politics by other means, then politics is war by other means. There can be no surrender, for surrender means the oppression of us all. Of all of us, excuse me. He is really doing his best to sound, these writings will go down in history. I'm another George Washington. I'm another Patrick Henry. I'm another Benjamin Franklin. I'm another Thomas Jefferson. These are exceptional times. We have not been faced with such a threat in many years. Honestly, I tell you what, I felt pretty well threatened under Obama and under Biden. I really and truly did. I wish it had not come. It is a sorrow of the world that these times have come, and it is we who shall have to bring woe unto those through whom it came. Oh my God, he's stealing passages from the Bible. Or is he trying to sound more like Shakespeare here? Trying to be Shakespearean in his prose. The future is not certain. It may be the present administration should flinch and turn back its face of lighter action. I fondly hope that'll be the cause, but if it comes, we must awaken from this ignorant dream. This evil will not pass without blood, sweat, toil, and tears. So harden your hearts and be prepared to die. This could have been written about the Obama administration. This could have been written about the Biden administration by a right winger. This could have been written about the Clinton administration. Smokey, the couch is not your claw sharpener. Go, you got your sharpening post. Go use it, buddy. Oh, now you want some attention? Okay, I'll give you some attention. Yes, Smokies, you're a good kitty. $430 likes, 131 restacks. Unbelievable. Now, he went on, Richard Hanania. He went on his podcast. How to get a visit from the Secret Service, a discussion on this week's bravest man on the internet. That should tell you about the opinions and the political viewpoints of the host. So let's listen to this. Turn the volume back up on it. Again, I have not listened to this. All right. I think I listened to like the first 30 seconds or so.
I'm currently in the Carroll Hall, George Mason, in their econ department.
Okay, yeah, I like how you announce your location for the entire world. That's very characteristic.
Well, that seems to have it's blown up a bit in my face recently, but oopsie whoopsie.
Yeah, unquestionably. So I met you Manifest last year, 2023, in the Bay Area. Where was that? What city was that?
Well,
That was
2024, but yeah.
2024. Yeah, we met Berkeley, the Manifest conference, and I had known your work before. I had seen you blogging a few times, and I encouraged you to write more often. And looks like you did take that advice. I did notice an uptick in your writing soon afterwards, and you're not afraid to offend people. And I think most of your posts are. I don't know if people have. Most people probably saw this was probably the first thing they ever saw of you. And let's see how many you have: 739 comments and 317 likes. So you have 317 likes. That's that's still a lot of likes.
Yeah.
And
now 317 likes, 300, it's got 320 likes. I don't know how active that is for Substack. I really and truly don't. Because I've only recently even started doing anything over at Substack. Probably only about the past couple of months. So I'm not real familiar with it. Yeah, no, this is the kid. Yeah, the kid here that's wearing the headphones is the badass. He is the Shakespeare. He is the Thomas Jefferson of our. Okay, Digi, you have a good day, all right? Try to stay out of trouble. If you can't stay out of trouble, have as much fun getting out as you did getting in.
And so, yeah, I mean, you weren't afraid to. You're not afraid to provoke people, obviously. But most of your work was just like kind of academic kind of econometrics, talking about studies and different economists and their ideas. And I think you're a good explainer of these fundamental economic concepts. So what made you just get up one day and decided to, what you're doing here? When must we kill them? I mean, you know what you're doing here. What made you get up one morning and decide to write this?
Because I think that the conduct of the present administration is altogether unprecedented. Perhaps I shouldn't use unprecedented because that would immediately provoke a search for maybe this is similar in the past, but it's certainly very bad, and I think unusually bad. And I wanted my fellow liberals.
Unusually bad. So when Obama deported more people than Trump did, it wasn't as bad. When Biden's Justice Department imprisoned people for merely being out in front of the halls of Congress, not being in the halls, not for actually just for being out in front, that was okay. All right, I got you.
To understand that, like, if they do things that would cancel democracy or annul the elections or whatnot, there is ultimately no recourse outside of force at the end of the day. And to me, war means fighting, and fighting means killing. And so that's I don't believe in mincing words on that.
Yeah, and to start with, you don't say we should do this today.
No, absolutely not.
Tomorrow.
Beyond the matters of effectiveness, which I think would be absurd and ineffectual, and frankly, I think that mass shooters, even assassins, are largely stupid and unmotivated, and just generally very poorly thinking.
Even though you wished an assassin's bullet had gotten blown the other direction out there in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? This is why I wanted to read his let you guys hear and read his little manifesto before I showed this video.
So absolutely not. I think, however, that there must surely exist a line for people, and I would consider, I would ask people to consider, where that line is, so that we are not caught in a little Belarus.
Yeah. So, like, I think in theory, if you say there's no line, it's a kind of a crazy position to take that there's no line ever. At which point, you would fight the government, right? I think that
Certainly.
that's kind of an extreme
To,
position.
to me, that
And
that makes sense only basically if you have extremely strong religious feelings, which I understand and respect, though anyone who does feel that way.
yeah. Well, I think I think our friend Brian Kaplan, he's not religious, but he would say something like he's pretty much a pacifist. So he's written
Mhm.
about this a few times. So he basically I don't know if he's ever written specifically about fighting your government, but he's written about international affairs. And his view is basically, you never know like when fighting is actually going to lead to a better result. So it's just better to surrender. So you don't.
Hey, B Token, good morning. Yep. Pope died yesterday, our time. Um, next few weeks will be interesting. Black smoke coming out of the Vatican. This guy is almost seeming like he's wanting to walk back some of what he said without walking it back.
It's blown up a bit in my face recently, but oopsie whoops.
Yeah. Yeah, unquestionably. So I met you Manifest last year, 2023, in the Bay Area. Where was that? What city was that?
Well,
That was
2024, but yeah.
2024. Yeah, we met Berkeley, the Manifest conference, and I had known your work before. I had seen you blogging a few times, and I
Mhm.
encouraged you to write more often. And looks like you did take that advice. I did notice an uptick in your writing soon afterwards, and you were not afraid.
Because that would immediately provoke a search for maybe this is similar in the past, but it's certainly very bad, and I think unusually bad. And I wanted my fellow liberals to understand that, like, if they do things that would cancel democracy or annul the elections or whatnot, there is ultimately no recourse outside of force at the end of the day. And to me, war means fighting, and fighting means killing. And so that's I don't believe in mincing words on that.
Yeah, and just I mean to start with, you don't say we should do this today
No,
or
absolutely not.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Beyond the matters of effectiveness, which I think would be absurd and ineffectual, and frankly, I think that mass shooters, even assassins, are largely stupid and unmotivated, and just generally very poorly thinking.
Mm.
So absolutely not. I think, however, that there must surely exist a line for people, and I would consider, I would ask people to consider, where that line is, so that we are not caught in a little Belarus.
Yeah. So, like, I think in theory, if you say there's no line, it's a kind of a crazy position to take that there's no line ever. At which point, you would fight the government, right? I think that that's kind of an extreme
To
position.
me,
And
that makes sense only basically if you have extremely strong religious feelings, which I understand and respect, though anyone who does feel that way.
yeah, well, I think our friend Brian Kaplan, he's not religious, but he would say something like he's pretty much a pacifist. So he's written about this a few times. So he basically, I don't know if he's ever written specifically about fighting your government, but he's written about international affairs. And his view is basically, you never know like when fighting is actually going to lead to a better result. So it's just better to surrender. So you don't necessarily have to. We have at least one person who doesn't have a religious objection to war, and is basically an absolute pacifist.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But one can disagree.
Yeah, so it is like mainstream to say we're headed in an authoritarian direction. I say
It is mainstream to say we are heading in an authoritarian direction. The only reason why it's mainstream is because the Democrats are saying it, and the liberal and the media, which is liberal, is repeating it. They're not refuting it. They're not questioning it. They're not saying you're nuts for saying that. So that's why it's mainstream. Remember, it is the press, the media, that determines what is and is not mainstream thought. Let's go back. Let's just go back to COVID. It was mainstream thought that COVID wasn't a result of a lab leak. It was mainstream thought that the paper masks were a prevented way to prevent you getting COVID. There's a mainstream thought that getting the shot and then the first booster shot would make you immune to COVID. Then you had to get another booster shot, then another booster shot, then another booster shot. There's so many of these mainstream thoughts that were wrong. And because it was pushed by the media, it became a mainstream thought.
Say that myself. I think that this is very frightening what the Trump administration is doing. And what things that they're doing are you most upset about, or what do you find most concerning?
I'm extremely concerned that if you can ship somebody overseas without due process and there's no recourse at that point, there doesn't seem to necessarily be a limiting principle. Maybe they'll keep it only to people who speak Spanish, but that's not the sort of phone up in my face.
They're not keeping it only to people who speak Spanish. They're keeping it to anybody who's entered the country illegally. Now, just because a large percentage of those who have entered our country illegally speak Spanish, that doesn't mean all of them do. We've got a lot of Chinese, we got a lot of Africans, we've got Europeans who've all entered this country illegally. And when they find them, they're going to deport them, regardless of their language. So you're being a bit racist there, young man, Mr. Decker. You're being a bit of a racist.
Case recently, but
Yeah, unquestionably. So I met you, Manifest last year, 2023, in the Bay. He would say something like, he's pretty much a pacifist. So he's written about this a few times. So he basically, I don't know if he's ever written specifically about fighting your government, but he's written.
Ship somebody overseas without due process and there's no recourse at that point, there doesn't seem to necessarily be a limiting principle. Maybe they'll keep it only to people who speak Spanish, but that's not the sort of limiting principle, that I would hope for.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I've been tweeting about this the last few days. It's like Trump says he can basically disappear a non-citizen, and nobody can review it, and nobody can.
Okay, illegals can be deported, and that's the end of it. A person who is here on a visa can be removed, had the visa revoked, and there is, by law, there is no judicial review of that. So if you don't like it, get the laws changed. But until then, Trump is using the law.
Can tell him to try to get him back.
And he strongly, Trump says many things, and many of them are often contradictory with things that he said earlier. So it's difficult to say what he believes. But he wants to ship the homegrown, the citizens off as well.
He said that.
And now
I think that I'm trying to remember where he's getting that from. But I honestly don't believe Trump wants to deport citizens to other countries.
It's possible that if he meets with, that will get whatever action is whoever the last advisors he meets with on a particular day is. But I think there are elements in the administration who do very much want that. And I certainly think those elements of the administration are very bad.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, as I was saying, so the first thing, I mean, they say they can do it to non-citizens. They say they can do it to citizens if they're convicted of crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Trump regularly says people who oppose him are criminals. Right? So he's got a very broad definition of criminal. And and they're shipping people over, overseas and revoking visas over purely speech, purely what they believe about American foreign policy. So that's
okay. Revoking visas. The law says that the Secretary of State can revoke any visa he wants to revoke. All right. And yes, that includes speech if what they're speaking about is the overthrow of the United States, or if what they're speaking about is bringing harm to American citizens. What they're speaking about is in support of terrorist organizations. So speech is not, as we all know, There is no such thing as complete freedom of speech. There are limitations. Even more so if you are in the United States as a guest.
That's a quite scary combination. And this is another thing that scares me, and maybe you can tell me if this sounds right to you. I'm scared by not just Trump and his intentions, but his movement. Like these people, if you just watch them on Twitter, and these are big people. These are, I'm talking about congressmen. I'm talking about Fox News. I'm talking about major social media personalities with 6- and 7-figure accounts. So I'm not picking random people who like Trump.
Yeah.
I'm picking like the most prominent voices in conservative media and the people in his administration. Basically, they all like did a 2-minute hate against this guy, Abrego Garcia. They've decided that the number one priority is to convince every.
Garcia is a member of MS-13. Evidently, he abused his wife enough that she sought protection orders against him, and he entered the country illegally. Any one of those reasons is enough to deport him. Entered the country illegally, gang member, and a wife beater. He's not a U.S. citizen.
Everyone that this guy, who maybe is not a good guy or whatever, I don't care if he's ever been convicted of a crime, but the idea that he's like the root of all evil, like because like you found out that he had a domestic abuse issue a few years ago, like you are somehow justified, and like these people, they're such cultists and they are so unconnected, like they're so good at missing the point that like I have 0% doubt that the people defending this, the vast majority of prominent people defending this, would defend locking up citizens. Like there is no way that it's just because this guy's a non-citizen.
I would never, and most people I know who are conservatives would never advocate locking up citizens for the same reasons we would deport a non-citizen. Now, if you're out openly supporting terrorist organizations, especially terrorist organizations that are threatening the United States, then you may get questioned by the FBI. Especially if you're giving them monetary support or other physical support. But just locking you up, no, until you commit a crime, then yes. But it has to be a crime that's actually on the books.
That they're okay with it. They are basically okay with it. Whatever Trump wants to do, whatever triggers the libs, and that's the guiding principle. Foreigners they don't like, but it's all about Trump. It's all about tribalism, and it's all about taking these positions. And this is what's frightening to me. Like he's going to have to be stopped by courts, by people outside the administration. There is nothing within the administration or the conservative movement at this point that's ever going to pose any kind of resistance to what Trump is doing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I'm concerned.
Well, mostly because Trump is doing what we voted for him to do. Like I said, I support about 90% of everything that Trump has done so far. Yes, there's a few things he's done that I'm like, I'm not too crazy about that idea. But a lot of stuff that he's done, the vast majority, I'm a full supporter of.
And I don't particularly care for their views. So
okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to say that I think that this kind of talk, I will say,
and I don't particularly care for your views. So does that mean I should have you lined up against that brick wall there behind you and shot, like you said you wanted to have me?
That theoretically it's okay to say there's some limit. I don't think we're there yet, and I think there's a kind of cost of talking about this, not just because it's bad for you personally or whatever, it's going to get you in trouble or people mad at you. I think these kind of things, when you say these things, you have to kind of think about what's the reaction going to be, right? And there could be a moment where we're there, but I don't think we're that close to it. And from that perspective, like you're just kind of, there's a book called How Democracies Die by two political scientists, and they talk about like one of the things that authoritarians often it's kind of transition from like this populist rule to authoritarian rule. And one thing they do is like when the other side tries to do things that are sort of out of bounds or outside norms, things like assassination attempts or like you impeach somebody when you're using the impeachment process in a way that you don't normally.
Oh, you mean like the impeachment all the impeachment processes against Trump and the assassination attempts against Trump by left wingers?
Where you try to use some kind of extra legal means, often that's the catalyst that makes the problem worse, right? So that's why I don't think that this is a healthy direction to go, like just having these conversations. What do you think about that?
I think that's perfectly reasonable. And I think what I said was true. But quite possibly not helpful. However, to be frank, I think that the marginal cost of me speaking about it is very low. Because it's my strong belief that if it were not me, it would be somebody else, right?
If not me, then who? Is that what you're saying? If not me, then who?
In the sense of something that right wingers are getting very angry at, right? I try and avoid looking at their stuff by and large, but it's my understanding is that Fox News is generally mad at something every day, and and I'm sure in a nation of what 340.
MSNBC isn't mad. Rachel Maddow isn't mad about something every day. The shows on MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC. None of these other networks are ever mad about everything every day. It's only Fox News. And oh my God, heaven forbid I read and try to understand anything that the other people, the others have got to say. No, I should not try to understand them. I read and listen to left-wing people such as yourself, because I try to understand your minds. Because sometimes, on occasion, some of y'all make a good point and causes me to reconsider a position. But a lot of times you guys just prove yourselves to be beyond my understanding, like you right now. As much as I disliked a lot of Obama's and Biden's policies, I never would have supported killing them, killing their administration, and killing their supporters, as you advocated in your little manifesto there.
40 million,
Yeah.
somewhere around there, people. There's enough bad things to get mad at. So I'd rather write what I believe, which is mainly intended towards people of my sympathy and persuasion. Insofar as this might be very bad. And it's not so much that I think that we should be prepared to kill. It's more that we should be prepared to die.
I don't write to make the other side understand. I write to rile up my own people, to make my people into gun-waving lunatics, willing to kill simply because we have a political disagreement. This is the kind of guy that should not be allowed to have a gun. This is the kind of guy that that should be on the FBI watch list.
And to me, I think that's far more heroic, by the way, than fighting. Self-sacrifice. Because I shouldn't say that because it's unnecessarily self-aggrandizing, and I want to avoid any implication of that. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I will say that you have shown personal bravery. There's a lot of faux bravery out there. I mean, a lot of people, will act like they break taboos, but they're often, just talking about wokeness or whatever, and they have kind of an anti-woke followership. And you just wrote this article knowing that the world was going to come down. How big did you? Are you surprised that is this?
I'm certain this is considerably bigger than I thought it would be. Even my controversial. But I mean, to be fair, maybe because like my normal, if my prior posts were quotas and general equilibrium, some misconceptions about banking, the life work of Esther Duflo, Objet Batterjee, and Michael Kremer. Like these are I would appreciate if people got very, very mad about a sufficient statistic approach to estimating the cost of quotas. But unfortunately, people just don't get angry enough about that. Go check it out. Great paper. David Bakowie and a new fellow who's going to be Sangani, who's going to be a professor at Northwestern. Excellent work. Bakowie, I think, is a shoo-in at this point. If he continues his career, he's a shoo-in for the Nobel Prize in 30 years.
There you go.
Incredible.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think as soon as I saw the post, I saw it before it went viral. I knew like this is about what I expected, and maybe because I have more experience with these kind of things, that like I sort of have a sense of like what's going to piss people off. And I mean, what you did was, I mean, the headline is kind of, you know these people, they don't really got the headline. So yeah, I mean, obviously. Yeah, and another thing you did, didn't you? I saw that you took like basically barely veiled quotations from the Declaration of Independence. Is that right?
Yes, it's basically stapled together Declaration of Independence plus Lincoln's second inaugural plus Bismarck plus Churchill.
Oh, you should have left out Bismarck. You should have just left the Declaration of Independence, because now they'll say they're mad at the Bismarck parts. He wasn't
Yeah.
a hero in our democratic
Well,
tradition.
I thought that
Yeah, that's blood and iron, right? Yeah, yeah.
must be settled with blood and iron. I don't know. I was so taken by the by the cadence of the phrase that I just had to include it.
Yeah, it's a little bit dated. Yeah, maybe not. Okay. Anyways, all right. So that's like the article. What's been so you had a visit from the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Explain that. What do? They ring your doorbell?
They ring the doorbell. They asked to speak to Nicholas Becker. I went out, and then I was like, "Can I get my phone so that I can record the counter?" And they were like, "Yeah, go back. You're fine." And then we chatted for 13 minutes or so. It was perfectly fine and amicable. They wanted basically to know, do I have a gun? They basically wanted to know, are you going to shoot the president? And I was like,
no, I don't
okay.
think so.
And they're like, okay. And just double checking, no mental health issues. You don't have a gun, right? And I was like, do you have any weapons? And they're like, I have a kitchen knife and a can opener. So, that was the extent of it. And
how many agents were there?
2 Secret Service agents and 2 police officers from the.
So, yeah, I'm not going to pay to watch the rest of it. That 14 minutes there was plenty. This is absolutely, I'm just going to be honest, this is absolutely disgusting. He is on the watch list. Now, one of my favorite people when it comes is Jonathan Turley. You all know that. And here's what Jonathan Turley wrote. All right, we'll get past that. This is obviously just a reckless rhetoric of one individual. However, it is indicative of a larger and growing problem on the left, where people are increasingly turning to political violence. Rage gives people a sense of license to break free from basic norms of civility, decency, and even legality. Decker is an example of unhinged hatred masquerading as logic. I find the essay deeply depressing. This is a student who clearly must be interested in teaching. Yeah, he wants to be a professor to spread his views to other students, but has not only undermined his chances of teaching, but has adopted the very antithesis of an intellectual life. I hope that he never gets a job as a professor. Yet I do not believe this essay should be the basis for prosecution. The universities referred the matter to federal and state authorities for investigation. I've long opposed violent speech from being criminalized. As someone who's received death threats for years from the left, I do not take such viewpoints lightly. However, I've long disagreed with sedation and violent speech prosecution as a general matter. I agree with him on that, but not to the extent that he's willing to let it go. Because there does come a point where where speech becomes so threatening to either an individual or to a group that criminal prosecution has to take place. Because it is at that point there is that point where such speech will encourage others to take the actions of that speech. College is often a time when students dabble with extreme or controversial viewpoints, most quickly return to the center, moderate their position. Some yield to the impulse to shock or to unsettle others. Again, it does not excuse the chilling statements made in this essay. While Decker added that violence is a last resort, he still maintains it as an option. He ignores that Trump is a product of a democratic process and that legal process is working to sort out these disputes. What I'm more concerned about is the culture that is producing such increasing violent rhetoric on our campuses. And if you think, I mean, just look at oh God, what was that guy? Milo. Look what happens when Milo was giving speeches. Look what happened when Ben Shapiro tried to give a speech. When Riley Gaines goes out to give a speech. The left is so violent on these college campuses. And not only is it unofficially supported because nobody gets kicked out of the college, nobody gets kicked out of school for their violent actions. It seems like the school endorses and actually supports the actions through their total lack of action in response to it. Many current faculty have long espoused such violent positions. Indeed, some faculty members continue to make the news for political violent acts. And what he's referring there to is an article he wrote. The UWEAU Clare department chair allegedly destroys college Republican table. He was speaking at a University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, on free speech after a student trashed a pro-life table on campus. We've seen that happen. Now, on the campus of the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, a professor trashed a table of college Republicans over their support for Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Brad Schimmel. The accused, Jose Philip Alivergi, is not just a professor, but chair of the English department. So, again, that is a college professor being violent. There's now common to hear inflammatory language from professors advocating detonating white people, denouncing police, calling for Republicans to suffer, strangling police officers, celebrating the deaths of conservatives, calling for the killing of Trump supporters, like he did, supporting the murder of conservative protesters, and other outrageous statements. One professor declared that there is nothing wrong with such acts of violence as killing conservatives, what was actually promoted. There is nothing wrong with such acts of violence as killing conservatives was actually promoted. I need to see what he was talking about there. I'm glad he provides links. Okay. Most human beings were disgusted with the murder of Aaron J. Danielson, a member of the right-wing group of Patriot Prayer in Portland. University of Rhode Island professor Eric Loomis is not among them. Loomis defended the killing by Michael Renoli, an Antifa member who appeared to, oh, that's right, I remember this now, who stalked Danielson down before gunning him. Loomis insisted that any problem in gunning down right-wing counter-protesters was tactical, not moral. Yeah, I remember that now. That was during the 2020 protests, I believe. So he continued. Turley continues on here with his article talking about how college campuses have become more violent. Melissa Glick at the University of Missouri trying to get a mob against a journalist. Yeah, University of California professors rallied against feminist studies associate who physically assaulted pro-life advocates and tore down their display. Despite pleading guilty to criminal assault, she was not fired and received overwhelming support from students and faculty. She was later honored as a model for women advocates. So let me post a link to this article because this is a good article by Turley. Okay, so going back to this, to Decker, this student is voicing the same rage he's heard from teachers and commentators. The current generation of faculty and administrators have created this atmosphere of political radicalism and moral relativism on campuses. I genuinely feel saddened by Decker's essay because while we likely share a desire to teach and be part of an intellectual community, the most essential part of that life is to defend a diversity of viewpoints and oppose violence as a means of force ideological compliance in others. I hope Decker and others in our community come to understand that in time. Eau Claire. Okay, thanks, JoJo. My smattering of French just come from when I was TDY to France. Every time I went TDY to France. So get back here to my page. Post this link to Jonathan Turley's article. There you go. So, yeah, this guy got the visit that he was looking for from the Secret Service, FBI, local police. Hopefully he is on a watch list. He himself is saying that he lost his home, his place of residence, Nicholas Decker. He did set up a GoFundMe, but basically because he He's trying to he's trying to make himself rich now for doing what he did. And if he succeeds, let's see if I can. I mean, if you put him into let's see here, the Daily Dot. What did they just say about him here? Because they just put up an article 48 minutes ago. Okay. PhD student studying economics at George Mason University was visited by the Secret Service after publishing a viral essay that questioned when will be time to kill the Trump administration. Okay, and let's see. Is it going to let me share that tab or not? It doesn't look like it's going to let me share that screen here. Let me try again. There he is standing in his front yard with at least a young lady who's wearing a Secret Service vest and the mandatory khaki slacks that the government agents wear when they're out pretending to be radical right-wing conservatives carrying tiki torches. So, what else is coming up with him now? Yeah, he's got it. Like I said, he went and put himself a GoFundMe trying to make some money. But other than that, do I think he should go to jail for that? No. No, I don't. Do I think he should ever be authorized to own a gun now? Definitely not. He should be forever banned from owning a firearm. He's he's just I mean, I mean, what can I say? He got out there and said that openly advocating for the assassination of a sitting president, the assassination of the vice president, the assassination of the cabinet, and the assassination of anybody and everybody that ever supported him. And if you do that kind of stuff, and I'll be honest, if anybody gets hurt, if there's turns out to be another assassination attempt, and there's even the slightest link that person may have read this kid's article, I think he should be on trial and convicted. It's that simple. You don't go out and make those kind of open advocacy for assassinations without being held liable for the what happens afterwards. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you think I'm wrong, if you think that a person should be able to go out there and openly advocate for the assassination of the president, the vice president, the cabinet, and the people that supported them, simply because you don't like their politics, let me know. We'll have that discussion. Now, remember, I'm saying not just because you disagree with them, but because you believe that there should be a bullet put into their head, which is what this guy referred to when he said, about the gust of wind pushing the bullet. This guy, any college that hires him should lose federal funding. He should be blacklisted. Yes, he has ruined his life. In my opinion, he has ruined his life. He's 20-some years old, and he has ruined his life. And I will stand there and watch it go down in flames and laugh. Because he's standing 10 toes down on his report there. He's not giving no backup on it. And as long as you openly advocate for the assassination of a president, any president, I don't care, any president, there's no president in our history that should be assassinated. None. No matter how much I disliked him, I would not have I'd never advocated for the assassination of Obama, of Clinton, Nixon, any of them. Biden had never done it, would never do it. We vote our presidents out. We don't assassinate them out. And anybody advocating for the assassination of a president, I've got no problem if they go down in flames. So, anyway, that's the end of the show for the day, guys. I got other things I got to do. Tomorrow's show, be a little late because I've got my 2 doctor's appointments tomorrow morning. And then Wednesday, no show, of course, because I'm going to be up all night. Thursday, there will be unless something happens, I will be streaming on Thursday, but I do have to leave before 11 o'clock because I've got a appointment at 11:15 that I've got to be. Fortunately, it's only a half mile down the road, but I've got an appointment I got to be at 11:15. So, everybody have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. And as always, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And don't be an ignorant ass and advocate for the assassination of presidents. Y'all